Special Collections is a department within the University Library and has one of the UK's outstanding collections of primary sources, including rare books, manuscripts, and archives. These can be used by anyone. Lots of material from our collections has been digitised and can be easily accessed online. Our digitised collections include cemetery registers, medieval manuscripts, recipe books, photographs, student newspapers, and much more. Researchers can use the same digital primary sources in lots of different ways. This video will show how two researchers have taken very different approaches to the Godfrey Bingley Photographic Archive. The archive is a collection of over 10,000 photographic plates donated to the university. The photographs were taken by Godfrey Bingley between 1884 and 1913. Images include many Yorkshire scenes, but also the rest of the UK and some of Europe, South America, and the Caribbean. Special Collections recently digitised images from the archive, which are now available through our catalogue.
I was just quite interested to know what historic links the University of Leeds had with Latin America, which is the region where I worked. So I started by typing in the name of Latin American countries in the Special Collections catalogue just to see what would come up. And I was intrigued by this particular collection because there were so many entries. I think it's something like 8,000 or 10,000 photographs. There's a lot of material, not all from Latin America, but all taken by this one individual. So I located the photographs which were taken in Latin America, which were probably about 30 or so, and I spent some time looking at those, trying to piece together the journeys that this photographer made from Yorkshire to Latin America at the end of the 19th century, which involved reading around his life and trying to learn a little bit about both Latin American history and the history of Yorkshire of the time. So I looked a lot at the images. I tried to kind of put them together on an almost like a map, mapping out the kind of places that he'd been. I also talked to experts in the history of the time.
Research was based in my practice as an artist who uses rephotography. So I take archival images and take them back to where they came from. The project started off as a photography project. Essentially, it was still image work. I was using the Bingley archive. I was using the Quarry Hill images from Special Collections alongside my own photography, trying to get a picture of, get a sense of how Leeds had changed and how we could represent that change. My kind of initial exploration was completely digital, because Special Collections have done this fantastic job of digitising huge amounts of Bingley's work, and so I could explore that and find out what images I wanted to use, and then I could request sort of very high-res scans of certain images that I could use in my own work. I put together this idea of a projection installation with two screens, and I proposed the idea to the treasures of the Brotherton Gallery. And we had two screens set up, which created this kind of quite immersive environment where people almost felt like they could step into the photography and experience the sense of place and shifting time.
When I went to Mexico, I saved some of the images on my phone, and the way that I found those places was largely by showing the digital images now on my phone to passers-by in the street, who largely looked at me as if I was a bit mad. But when we thought we found those places, then I took photos with my digital camera, which I then saved and compared to the digital images from the collection. So it was definitely a kind of to and fro between the different media. I also made a podcast recording of the entire experience, which kind of followed my research journey fairly chronologically.
The Special Collections archives are an amazing resource, a collection of primary resources that are very accessible because of the digitisation programs that they've been running. You can access all sorts of materials that could be useful, not just for historical research, but in all sorts of areas. And they've got a fantastic search engine where you can find materials that might be relevant to your project. I definitely encourage students to have a look. Obviously, it depends on the sort of research you're doing, the sort of work that you're being asked to do. But I think, for lots of different kinds of research, that those primary sources are useful, and not just in the areas you'd expect, not just in the subjects you'd expect.
Certainly the digital materials were an excellent starting point for really the adventure that came afterwards, which was entirely unexpected and all the more fun and engaging for being so. I think there are lots of surprises that can be had in the Special Collections, and so engaging with the materials there can really give your work a sense of uniqueness and difference.
You can find more information about our digital primary sources and how to use them on Special Collections web pages. Please get in touch with us to find out more. We'll be happy to help. Thanks for watching.